It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspective of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA AM 1490, FM 101.3, JAWS Country FM 100.9, and ESPN Radio AM 630 and FM 92.9. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Energy Insights on a Saturday morning. Please join with a good old friend, and that is Mike Jacoby. He is the president of Ohio Southeast, an economic development organization, and we can start. Let's start there, Mike. Let's start with Ohio Southeast, just for folks that don't know about it. I would venture to say, aside what you might hear from Mike, OhioSE.com is the website, and it is slick and classy, and I would encourage a trip to that website as well. So welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit about Ohio Southeast.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. So Ohio Southeast Economic Development, or Ohio Southeast as we call it, is a regional nonprofit economic development organization. We cover 25 counties in southern and eastern Ohio. And we work closely with local development organizations, and we serve as the field staff of Jobs Ohio. When Governor Kasich was the governor, he privatized economic development. He created an entity called Jobs Ohio, which is a nonprofit entity, but they work through 6 regional organizations. We're the organization that serves as the field staff for Jobs Ohio in southern and eastern Ohio.
Well, okay, so within that thought, when you work with other organizations, so we always think of, so how does this work with the Port Authority, with SUGA, with UGA, but Shale Crescent, these organizations ultimately are trying to boost the economy, right?
Sure.
So we're all working together.
Yeah, so absolutely. So most of what we do is interact directly with businesses in our targeted sectors. And if they have an expansion project that involves new job creation and capital investments, we have different tax incentives, we have different training grants, we have loan programs, we have grant programs, and we're typically partnering with the local development professional to assist with that project. We also now have some programs that can help that local development organization develop sites and buildings, and even private developers to develop sites and buildings, because businesses are just like people. When they decide they need to expand, they want to do it quickly, and they want shovel-ready sites and ready buildings.
Okay, to that point, I think I saw 14, I'm sure it's ever-changing, but there is a site map on your website that's pretty slick as well, right?
Yes, we have an online database of sites and buildings. Last I knew, there was about 1,000 buildings across our sites and buildings across our region. And when a company does a site search, it's a multi-state, sometimes multi-nation search. They typically work through the state entity, in our case Jobs Ohio, then it gets filtered down to us, and we work with the local partners to find the right site and building that meets the parameters of that search.
You look pretty good, by the way. Life been good to you, I assume?
I don't know about that.
You do.
I just saw a picture of myself the other day. I said, who's that old guy?
No, come on. So tell me about the body of Ohio Southeast. Lean and mean, 5 people, 10 people, 20, what do you got?
So we have 11 full-time and 1 part-time person. Actually, we've got 2 key members from the Marietta area. We've got Sarah Arnold is our marketing and communications director.
She's a good one.
Yeah, and Stacy Saunders is our part-time sites assistant who used to work at Marietta College.
All right. Mike Jacoby is our guest. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Energy Insights, brought to you every Saturday morning at this time on these 5 signals by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Mike Jacoby is our guest. We'll learn more about what he's been up to and where Ohio Southeast is located specifically, and how you might get to learn more about him. I would encourage you to go to OhioSE.com. Check it out. And always, you can call us if you have any questions. We'll make sure Mike gets those as well. But thanks to SUGA for making this possible. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to Mike Jacoby for joining us. President of Ohio Southeast Economic Development, and it is Mike Jacoby, and certainly a guy that most folks around here know the name and know your dad and your mom when she was here with us. But talk a little bit about your transition into the business of economic development? Because I feel like you've had your hands in it and done a very good job for a long time, whether it was, with the Port Authority some years ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been, I guess it's been almost 15 years ago that I ran the local Port Authority, and I went up to, and I've been in economic development for about 26, 27 years and worked at the state level, worked at the local level. Actually, I left Marietta to go up to Zanesville, and there I had the good fortune of, we had a nice site, and I was able to help recruit Halliburton to our community. At their peak, I think they had over 1,000 jobs. Obviously, they go kind of up and down with commodity prices. Yeah. But that's really when I got connected to oil and gas. And I've got to tell you, it's been pretty exciting for Eastern Ohio. There's been peaks and valleys, but it's a big part of our regional economy.
Well, let's stop, or you did stop there. Let's jump back on that, the access part of where we're located. I think that it's got to be the key to bringing in more folks and manufacturing, and I think the focus on different forestry or schools or water, natural resources. Here are all these things that seem to surround us, and that's what makes the engine go.
Yeah, so I guess as an economic development professional, I would say our region for generations has been trying to catch up with other parts of the state and the country. And we don't have the same amount of economic diversification, which is a long-term project, I'll say. But oil and gas is a huge part of our history, and it's a huge part of our opportunity right now, and it's a huge part of our opportunity in the immediate future because there's just so much of it, and it's so critical to so much of the rest of what we do as people and as a nation. So a big focus right now is how do you take that resource and turn it into something else? And on my way down here from Zanesville today, I drove by a $1.6 billion gas-fired power plant that's being built up near Byesville in Guernsey County. Mm-hmm. And there's, I think there was over 1,000 construction jobs, probably still now, as that's constructed. And we've got another one being completed in Monroe County and hopefully one to start construction later in Harrison County. So it's a lot of activity right now.
So where is your chase? I mean, do you go to I don't know, there weren't any conventions last year, but what is the outreach specifically for you, or are they coming to you, or both?
So it's both. We try to be active in terms of, on the internet, on our website, and social media. But we took a break last year because of the pandemic, but we're going to send a team member down to Houston in October. Mm-hmm. To go to a downstream show, which means downstream means what do you do with the natural gas and the natural gas liquids after it comes up out of the ground? Well, you hopefully turn it into something else like plastics or methanol or fertilizer or something like that. So we're going to send a team member down there to try to make some connections in Houston.
As it relates to your job and maybe where your feet were when these words Marcellus and Utica came into our lives, because it doesn't seem like that long ago. And a lot of our listeners may not admit it, but I don't know the difference between one and the other. I talk about it every week, so I think it's good to educate folks on, and I don't know how important it is as much as it's the draw to where we are.
Yeah, so, our region's been blessed, with something that's been developing over, I think it's like 300 million years or so.
Crazy, right?
And so I was in Zanesville at the time I first started hearing about it, and somebody showed me a rig out in Guernsey County, and it was a massive, massive piece of equipment full of all kinds of trucks and people. And so I got an early exposure, and I did a tour over in Lycoming County, Williamsburg, Pennsylvania area, and saw what was going on there. And I got on board fast because I recognized the supply chain is huge in this business, and there's a lot of money that's involved in producing it and a lot of jobs. And so I've been kind of trying to educate myself ever since, and it's been, for our region, I think it's been great.
You can hear the passion of a guy that does it for a living. It's Mike Jacoby, our guest. Thanks again for joining us on Energy Insights. And Mike Jacoby is the president of Ohio Southeast, an economic development organization. You can learn more about them and each of the individuals that work there as well at their website, ohiose.com. We thank Mike for being with us. We thank you for listening, and we thank Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association for making this possible. Chat with a good friend, Mike Jacoby. He's the president of Ohio Southeast Economic Development Company, located all over the world if you have a website, but Nelsonville is the hub?
That's the home office, yeah. The home office is Nelsonville, but our team is kind of remotely based all over our 25-county region.
Right, so a couple of folks, some Marietta folks, right, that are probably work from here or back and forth.
Yep, working from home or down at Inkswell, the co-working space on Front Street.
We talked about access in terms of being, within a day's drive of what we have to offer and manufacturing businesses that may want to locate here. And when we're talking about the oil and gas industry, it extends to other industries. I think I saw like flooring, sawmills, hardwood. I told you I was camping at over at the Spruce Knob the other day, and I went into a distillery, and they had the big bourbon barrels, right? Mm-hmm. So somebody's got to make that. Somebody's got to get that really good wood, right?
Yeah, so actually in Jackson, Ohio, we worked on a project with Speyside Cooperage where they take the white oak and they make bourbon barrels. They have to char the inside, but it's a huge growth industry, and we've got a lot of great white oak here in southern Ohio.
As a Marietta native that I think you're now in Zanesville,
right.
Talk about your relationship to community. I'm sure you're as entrenched now in Zanesville as you have been and still are here, but talk about growing up in this community. And I think you and I both have that same passion for where our feet are and where they have been, or we wouldn't be here still, because I think there's enough opportunities certainly out there that you could do whatever you want, but the idea that you can come back and become part of this place.
Yeah, so this is a special place. It will, even though I'm in Zanesville and have been for over 10 years now, it will always be home, and I come back frequently, and I love to come back. And I think that's very true of a lot of the people in our region. It holds, even if they've left, our area holds a special place in their heart. And while I think for generations we have kind of lost our best and brightest in many cases, I think a lot of people would come back given the opportunity. And to be honest, as horrible as this pandemic has been, what this means now is McKinsey Consulting is saying 20 to 30% of all workers will be working remotely 3 to 5 days a week. So all of a sudden, the Mariettas of the world have an opportunity to have people come back, bring their jobs with them, and as long as they have broadband access and the lifestyle that they want, they can take advantage of the cost of living. They can take advantage of the hometown lifestyle and a walkable community and a safe community and good schools and go on and on and on. I mean, could really be a game changer for places like Marietta.
Right, and if you're planning your life, where you want to raise a child or whatever, I think it's no longer there's nothing there for me. I think I read it on your website that by the year 2030 maybe, we're now, just think how close we are to there, that 40% of the energy will come from this formation that is right here underneath of us. Yeah,
so and I don't remember the exact projections, but between the Utica and the Marcellus in a 3-state region, I want to say it's like, I'll get this wrong, but it's over like, I think 30 billion cubic feet a day maybe of natural gas production, and so much more gas than we can consume. We've been constrained by pipelines just to get it to other parts of the country where they need it, and this presents a huge economic opportunity for our region because you can not only burn it for fuel, but you can turn it into petrochemical products, to plastic products, and all of a sudden that's a huge operating advantage for for our region compared to anywhere else in the country.
The objective is this show for the listeners and me, quite frankly, to learn a little something, even if it's one thing every week. We've already done that. But for you in the business of economic development and the CE part of what we do, we have to learn technology as we sit in a studio here at the radio station. But in terms of I think about the transition of your resume and how much things have changed. Talk a little bit about how you continually educate yourself. I think about the oil and gas industry. All of a sudden, bam, you better know it because we're trying to use it, right?
Yeah, I kind of went through that firsthand and was fortunate to be exposed to the industry pretty early on and got on board and had some wins up in the Zanesville area in terms of job-creating projects tied to shale. And to be honest, you had guys coming up here from Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana, and they were used to operating in environments where maybe they weren't always welcomed. I think our region did a good job of seeing the opportunity and welcoming these people. With Marietta College Petroleum Engineering program, we already had some ins in the industry, and there's a history of the industry in our region, but it was just a lot different. And now we're seeing big corporations, big dollar investments, and it's been good for our region.
It's refreshing to talk to somebody that cares about where they're from and is doing something about it to make it better for those that come after us. Mike Jacoby is the president of Ohio Southeast out of Nelsonville, an economic development company, but making things better in our community and in the Southeast Ohio region as well. Thanks to Suga for making this possible. Thank you for tuning in. From Mike Jacoby, Johnny Wharf, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on WMOA Local Radio, JAWS Country, and ESPN Radio, as Johnny Wharf brings you your local and inside perspectives going on in the oil and gas industry right here in the Mid-Ohio Valley.